everybody. Welcome out, welcome out, welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. Now, Black Power Media, in case you didn't know, we are here this morning to bring to you that news, that boom bap breakfast, and all that right here. But I can't do it myself. I am the Air Doctor, but we have your host today. We got no other than Jackie Lukman. And Burn It Down, Kim Brown.
Wind the waist, y'all. Wind the waist.
Right.
Wind it up. What was that?
I cannot.
Oh, that was a little reggae.
Little reggae.
And last but not least, late to the party, Lucretia Williams.
Bring the beat back. Bring the beat back.
All right.
Peace, Lucretia. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm okay. I have a bit of a cold, so if I sound,
no.
Well,
you know,
stay over there with that.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Welcome to Women's Wednesdays. We are here. You know what? We need another woman. Other than Ricky Ryan.
Yes. Bring the beat back.
All right. Listen, hey, we got the memo today on this color right here. This maroon. Everybody almost got the memo.
I
don't have it in my hair.
Yeah.
I don't read memos anymore. I don't.
No, that's right. Colors.
Yeah. So we got a dope show. We got interviews today. We got news. We actually got news. You know, I got to take it a little slow with the fellas. They don't know how to really get to the news and stuff. But with y'all professionals, I don't even got to worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Professionals.
Yes.
That's
It's two professionals.
Yeah, I don't even want to be a professional anymore.
Oh, you got to be accountable when you're a professional, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
Rules and whatnot, bylaws and employee handbooks. No, never again.
Keep that word, Pastor Lukman. Come on, give us a word this morning, Jacqueline. Let's go.
Not if I can help it.
You know, with it being Women's Wednesdays, I was just thinking. I posted the question in the email about Sister Shirley Chisholm. Reagan was the president. I voted for Shirley Chisholm by Bismarck, and I was thinking, could she make it today in this climate, as you know who she was and what she represented?
She wouldn't get if she were running as a Democrat, she would not get any support from the DNC. And if she were running as an independent, they would have pulled the Cornel West hit piece on her. I don't think they would have found anything to pull a hit piece on her with, but
Shirley Chisholm has overdue library books. She's not credible.
Now that's the establishment response, right? She wouldn't get any support.
I think if we're talking about today's climate, because from what I grew up knowing about Shirley Chisholm, first Black woman to run for president, progressive in a sense, civil rights activist, etc. But as I've come into my own politics, Shirley Chisholm in today's climate, having been a part of BASIC, which is something that Rustin started up, which is Blacks in support of Israel. Shirley Chisholm was a part of that. And then she also technically was not the first Black woman. Charlene Mitchell was, but she ran for the CPUSA. She certainly wouldn't be in today's climate. But what's interesting about Charlene Chisholm is Maxine Waters was part of her campaign. But yeah, so Shirley Chisholm, I think, is one of those figures that gets mystified in a sense. Particularly, there's a page called Know Your Caribbean on Instagram that does a lot of historical things, and with Shirley Chisholm being Caribbean. When Kamala Harris won, there was a side by side. Now I will say she is not Kamala Harris.
True. Let's get that
comparison at all. And I kind of pushed back on that page and received. That's not. It's a radical liberal space, so they were not. not really receptive to to any criticism about Kamala. But I will say she's not that. But I don't know necessarily today if she held the same politics today. Now, if she was alive today, you know, obviously we can say that for everyone, there's room to grow politically. But if she held the same politics today and still being a part of BASIC with the climate of what's happening in Palestine, she'd be just as received by the DNC as a Stacey Abrams or etc.
Somebody did their homework.
No, Communist has a piece. So that's how I found out. Her Communist has a piece called Smash Zionism that the AAPRP has produced for like a couple decades. So they talked about Arthur Ashe being a part of that, Coretta Scott King being a part of BASIC. So there are names and figures who were essentially behind Bayard Rustin.
Oh, now that I did not know about her. See, surrounded by real smart people. You can't go wrong.
Read her Communist.
That's right. They never go wrong.
That's why I come in the room. If I'm the smartest person, I'm in the wrong room.
Okay, anyway.
So let me see. Lucretia, I think you had a little echo, that's why I muted your mic. But other than that, I just wanted to pose that question because I know I was just thinking of, like, you know, with the whole Trump situation with Biden, I'm like, could a sister come in right now and really do it? Other than that, I was wondering, did y'all on your way to go see this movie, American Dream with 21 Savage? Donald Glover is playing 21 Savage, and Caleb, it's
what?
It's a real movie.
That's what I said when I.
That was not something you made up.
It's a biopic. Yes.
About 21
Savage.
Yes.
I might watch it. I'm very interested.
I was about to say, does anybody
when I found out that
he
was British, that mind blown. So I might watch it.
It's about his life, upbringing, career from his 2019 incarceration by the U.S. Immigration and the Customs Enforcement. So, I mean, it ain't like it's a long life and then that situation happened, but, you know.
No, I'm interested. I would like to know how 21 Savage became 21 Savage.
The problem is, if you were to pop up 4 images of younger black men right now and ask me to pick 21 Savage if my life depended on it, I'm dead. I have died. Okay, I'm not.
Me too, Kim.
I'm not gonna survive that Squid Games challenge. That's not gonna happen. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
No, that would be the thing that trips me up because I'm like, who is that? Who is that?
Admittedly, I don't listen to the music. Like, there's features that I know of. Like, he has a feature on Cardi, he has a feature here and there. So I've heard him rap, whatever. Yeah. But I think the immigration is what the interest point for me, because they really came after him. And I didn't know he was an immigrant. I didn't know he was from the UK.
Yeah.
That threw me all. I thought he was from the South.
From Atlanta, right? How he'd say.
Yeah, right.
Could there have been a documentary about his experience? Like, I'm just curious why they fictionalized it. Like, why was someone cast as 21 Savage? Could we just got the documentary of his immigration fight, like the real story, as opposed to a scripted?
And then who did the casting to go get Donald Glover to play?
Do they look alike? No. I know who Donald Glover is.
Not at all.
They don't look alike. Okay.
They don't. They don't.
You want to see a picture real quick?
No. Put the image back up.
Yeah, because that could literally be, and you could tell me that's anybody. You know
okay, so 21 Savage is at the bottom with the cross on his head.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 21 Savage. But they really put that tattoo on that man's head and said, this is
wow.
So they put it on Caleb too. They just stamped everybody.
The other kid is from that's a younger version of 21 Savage, and that's the now version.
I'm not stamped.
I got this stamped everybody.
Stamped from the beginning.
If I got this many questions about the promo.
Dude ain't even 30 yet. He got a biopic with 2 different versions of.
Wow. Like the right level of ridiculousness for me. I'm so.
All right, I'm finished with my ridiculousness.
No, let's not. Because Lucretia, you mentioned Stamped from the beginning. Has anybody watched that Netflix special about that thing? I keep clicking on it like when I get to the peak of my boredom in here and I don't feel like writing and I'm not cleaning anything up and I look at it and I'm like, I can't do this to myself.
What is it
and
about?
I go wash the dishes or something like that.
It's about Kendi's book.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's on
that
Netflix.
guy.
Who produced that? Barack and Michelle?
Probably. I have no idea.
it wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wondered if anybody had watched it, and because
Can't
I
do it.
can't bring myself to. I really can't.
Sound like a Lifetime story.
It's supposed to be our Lifetime story, but it's trash.
I mean, is that channel just dedicated to women that got different things going on in their head? Lifetime.
What,
I mean,
Lifetime?
Yeah, like the stuff that they
Here we go.
promote.
Tread lightly, bro.
Be careful. Be careful, buddy.
All right. It's about time we go into a break.
You talking to at least half of a middle-aged woman audience. They 45 and over go up for
Yep,
Lifetime,
with
baby.
like
I
2.5
mean, honestly,
Lifetime
number
specials
two.
between us.
It's about killing
here
people
for it.
all the time, man. That's all the different things
With
be about.
2.5 Lifetime specials in between us. What?
Yes, right. I'm gonna
Exactly.
say there's some educational stuff too.
Come on, son.
You
Anyway.
brought it up.
Biopic here and there.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we're gonna come back because we got a lot of news, and I need to get off the screen so all these beautiful ladies can give it to you. All right. With that said, let's go ahead right here on the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and yes, you are tuned in to the best morning show on the planet. Hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and go to patreon.com and become a member over there, and also drop some change right here in the super chat if you can, so we can keep this thing going. All right, with that said, I wanted to do an artist spotlight. Who was I going to spotlight? Well, actually, I had a show Sunday's radio, and had Piper Carter on it. We was talking about certain sisters that rhymed. And I wanted to talk about a certain group that went by the name of the Cookie Crew. The Cookie Crew. Now, this is a group that came out of South London in 1983. Now, they actually got their start. You had MC Remedy, and then you had Susie Q. And they got their start by winning a national rap championship recording sessions with a radio show. After that, they came out in 1987 with their single Rock the House. Now, a lot of their music was more house music with some raps on it, where you could really dance. Like, you know, that whole Kid and Play type feel where you could really dance and listen to rap music like that. So that's what they came and brought to the game. Coming straight out of UK, like I said. They did that, and they dropped their first album, Born This Way, back in 1989. And then their second album, Fade to Black, 1991. That title sounds familiar, Jay-Z. All right, other than that, they did the thing for a minute. And then in 1992, they had differences with the labels and each other and wound up severing ties and went their own ways. But here you go. One of the first sister groups out of the UK in this hip-hop movement. The Cookie Crew, y'all. All right, let's get back to my Cookie Crew right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Yeah.
Dear Doctor, that was such a dope Sundays with Piper Carter and Dia. I watched the whole thing. It was a fantastic. Yes, it was very good. Excellent discussion about women in rap, and the expertise of the women's and yours truly was much appreciated. And big up to Piper Carter for bringing up Boss from Detroit. I loved Boss. I bought Boss's cassette, okay, and I dug it. And by the way, Recipe of a Hoe was like a woman empowerment anthem. I dug it because that was the first time I really could recall men getting read down by a woman rapper. My favorite line out the song. Let me give it to y'all real quick. Two cool ass niggas tickle me. Ain't nothing stranger. Then you thinking that you's a big dick dangler because nothing's going on but it's rent. So I wish you would come with that dick shit. Fuck you in your manhood. I said, come on, boss. I said, come on, boss. What's up, Detroit? Loved it. Loved it.
Nice. Well, appreciate that. That is your break for now, and I will catch y'all ladies later. You know where to send your stories. Peace.
Peace. Okay, girls. So you know it's us. So we gonna do things on time. Y'all ready to slap the map?
Let's do it.
Get it. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's the Wednesday edition of the Remix Morning Show, exclusively here on Black Power Media. This is Women's Wednesdays, which is, I think, a new thing. So thank you to everybody who has showed up to join us, including my fellow ladies on screen. We are joined today with the Jacqueline Lukemon, the Ricky Ryan, aka Erica Keynes, and the Lucretia Williams. My name is Kim Brown. We got the ear doctor in the cut. We have kicked the rest of the fellas off for this morning, so you guys get to rock with us, remixers. Thank y'all so much. Please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, become a channel member, support the channel, patreon.com/Black Power Media. So you know it's all of us here, so I know we are brimming with stories. We just gonna start with Ricky because I know Ricky got a story.
Let's go. Let's go.
The most prepared pupil amongst us all is ready for her presentation. So Ricky Ryan, take us away.
There's two things. So we can start, I guess, with the Hertz piece, the Israel piece. Your doctor would have to start that.
Keep talking.
Keep talking.
But essentially,
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I said, is there something going on in Israel?
Because I'm figuring that I would have to fill it in. So essentially, right now, as we know, the South Africa has taken this case to the ICJ, charges against genocide against Israel and crimes against humanity, etc. And we're seeing different countries step up and support it. But now we're seeing that within Israel, there are politicians who are now saying that they will support the petition accusing Israel of genocide. So we have an Israeli MK causing an uproar, as the headline says, after signing a petition and offering support to that petition. And I wanted to raise this primarily because I have thoughts about this. Because it says here, well, he took it off the screen, so hold on. One of the things that it says is that the politician, thank you. It says after, if you can enlarge that, because I can't see those tiny, tiny letters.
Are we reading glasses years old? Are we reading glasses years old, Ricky Ryan? What's going on?
No, but that was a little small. The computer is
join us. You can join us over here at the reading glasses years old table.
So it said after Offer Kassif, it's the MK and the Arab Jewish Hadash Ta'al party. He signed the South Africa petition. The fellow Knesset members called for his removal. So he explained his reasoning, and this is where my ears perked, where he said that my constitutional duty is to Israeli society, not to the government who calls for ethnic cleansing and even actual genocide. Now, I wanted to raise this because I raised it also within members of my organization because I'm thinking through, like, how do we handle this? There is a process of normalization that is happening in the midst of supporting this palace, well, not even supporting the resistance, right? But calling for the end of a genocide, primarily, right? That's primarily people's motivation. They don't want to see children dying. As a number, we're at 20,000 plus. Those type of numbers are jarring to people. That's why ceasefire is a prominent call. But in the midst of that, you have nation states like Azania, South Africa, that are taking the lead. Nicaragua just signed on yesterday. We know that there's plethora of countries now that are signing on. BAP is part of a national, international organization support of that petition. So there's multiple people signing on in this call for genocide. But that, when I talk about the call for normalization, it's not even so much the two states, but there's a way that the conversations are happening. Like there's prominent, even Arab figures, Palestinian figures, there's prominent Jewish, quote unquote, anti-Zionist figures that are sneaking particular language around or sneaking it into conversations around what's occurring in Palestine. So while they're showing support with these mobilizations, they are not really in support of the resistance. They are not really speaking to settler colonialism even. You're not hearing these words or these terms. So what does it mean to say that you are not supporting the government, which is essentially Netanyahu, and letting it all fall on his feet, and saying that you are first and foremost concerned with Israeli society, with not acknowledging that Israeli society does not exist without the Nakba, which is genocide, which is, erasure. So I just thought that was it, because how do we deal with that? Because this is essentially a net positive, right? We want to get more people on board, but to what end? And to what end do we then put a stop or hold to the normalization that is occurring? And it is occurring in these ways. So I just wanted to know what you all thought.
Yeah, that I read that and I was like, oh, really? But then I remembered that, a lot of people within Israeli society just hate Benjamin Netanyahu. They hate him, right? And they really do hate that man because of his corruption problems, and that he strong-armed himself into this coalition with really truly right-wing fascist pro-genocide. They're openly saying it now, not like he never was, but they're his cover for doing what he's doing now in this coalition government. But the people reelected him, so that's like, I don't feel bad for you. You got what you voted for. But at the same time, while it is, I agree with you, Ricky, that this is a net positive, because I think this politician said that he is going to provide evidence to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, to support South Africa's case charging Israel with apartheid. That's great. All you have to do is look on Twitter and look at all the videos of all of the Israeli officials saying they want to wipe the Palestinians off of, Gaza and all that kind of stuff. But that's a net positive. But I do wonder what happens when there is a ceasefire, that, when this case goes forward and let's say Israel is charged with genocide, what happens if Netanyahu is, I don't know what the penalty would be if he's removed from the presidency. You still got this right-wing cabinet in Israel that still wants to kill all the Palestinians. What happens to them? What happens to the illegal settlements? What happens to the apartheid wall, the so-called security fence that Israel enclosed the West Bank with? What happens to the blockade? What happens to the apparatus of oppression that Israel has imposed on Palestine that has brought us to this moment? Will any of that be dismantled? Will Israel be transformed into a single, truly democratic state with a Palestinian majority with equal rights for all, which is what Palestinians want? Or is it going to remain Israel, an illegal settlement based on apartheid, second-class citizenship, if any, of Palestinian people, and the apartheid remains, and the illegal settlements continue to be built. This one act is a net positive, and I think that it's great that it's being done. But I think we should be careful to keep in mind what comes next, and what will this particular politician and whomever else inside Israel who is supporting this move, what are they going to do to push farther for equal rights for Palestinians? Because they haven't done much now, I don't trust a whole lot of them doing anything like that at the end of this. But stranger things have happened. I've been wrong before, but I'm not celebrating this. I think this is a tactical move that we get behind, or at least raise and somehow use in our work as propaganda, while we're raising this glaring contradiction that still exists.
Thank you for that. And I was thinking about that too, because I've been hearing in the reports recently that their framing of this is, well, before the few months that have transpired, ceasefire was not even being uttered in the mainstream media. But I feel as if now I'm hearing, what's the plan for Palestine? And I think, whose plan, and what's going to happen to Palestinian people? And if there is a ceasefire, like you say, then what happens to dismantling the actual occupation and ending this settler colonial setup that the Palestinians have to be under? And it makes me wonder that if there's a ceasefire, will the media go away, and this will, at least in the mainstream media, just recede into the background? And I think that separation of trying to say, well, it's just Netanyahu, is a similar way of taking the power out of our movements in this country, because they will tell the US public that it's just the current regime, it's just the current president. No, that Netanyahu and Trump and everyone else are not a symptom of this ongoing setup that is the US presidency, and not just a outlier that happened this one time.
Yeah. Even to your point, I have been seeing that in the last couple of weeks on MSNBC. They have been talking about what's the next steps. They have been also noting that the Palestinian Authority has no authority. There's nobody that is pushing for them. But they have not been really including Palestinians in this question at all. And also, I think it's important to note that I don't think, in terms of the support for what South Africa is doing, and why organizations like that would get behind it and push it, is necessarily dependent on whether or not there is a ruling, right? Whether or not they're found guilty is not really a motivation for that support. As Jackie noted, these are things that we can use to organize around, propaganda tools, etc., that I think are necessary, because we can highlight things that we know, that we see constantly, but we also have to remember all of our people are not online. And as we've seen with that church, all of our people are are a dynamic of that sort of capture of that MSNBC, CNN world, right? That is that age bracket that watches those shows, so they are caught up in a particular propaganda that we can then say, well, South Africa did this. So you remember, South Africa's apartheid movement, and these are things that they found, and hey, check this out. Did you see that? And so these are things that we can organize around, and do PE around and things like that. So I think it's useful. I do think people do get caught up in that sort of red herring of, well, the UN and these institutions, they're not for us. I think that they don't necessarily need to be, for them to be a tool that we use. And I think that that's the approach to it. And I do think, Jackie, that you raise a good point. and I think was raised even in that discussion that we were having as, that like, what do you think about this? Is that, these are things that we could obviously take advantage of while like, watching carefully, because at the end of the day, the resistance is not dependent on whatever happens with the ICJ, nor whatever this man says as a sole singular individual politician within Israel, right? The resistance is going to do what they have set out to do, what they have started to do. So I think that that's important to note, that these are not the dynamics that are going to make or break what's happening in Palestine, but it is the dynamics that are going to be able to raise how much support material support even, we are able to give them from our end within the empire.
It's a bad comparison, but when I hear this news about what this Israeli, parliamentarian has signed on to, it kind of reminds me, again, a bad comparison, but the handful of congressional Republicans who attacked the FBI, right? That call for the defunding of the FBI. Obviously, Matt Gaetz and fucking Donald Trump are not on our side, and they are against the FBI for different reasons that we are. But I can support defund the FBI, and if they intend to do that, then that is the singular issue in which we can stand. And like you say, it could be used as propaganda and other things, but it does not mean we don't stand with these people. But
Right.
just because the broken clock is right twice a day, it's still right twice a day. Okay.
Right. And no, actually, that's a good comparison.
I was going to say it really was.
Yeah, because we just in the same way that we have to look at what these people inside Israel are going to do after this, we certainly have to look at what these people who want to defund the FBI would do once they defund the FBI. It's not going to happen. But what would they do? And this is why this whole conversation about common ground with right-wing forces is childish, and it's stupid. It's just stupid. I'm just going to call people stupid in 2024. I've been trying not to do it. But I mean, we find common ground. We organize with and collaborate with and unite with people whose ideology and principles on the issue of human rights align with ours. We don't have to agree on every single thing in that arena, but we've got to find a lot of common ground in that arena. Just because you don't like one thing that I don't like, that does not mean that you are not going to try to kill me once the thing that we both don't like goes away. We know you are. So that's why we don't rock with those people. We can take the one thing they say right and go, well, look at that. Okay. But then explain to people, well, that's great, but you have to understand, this is why they want to get rid of the FBI. And this is what they're going to do when it's done. Same thing with this Israel situation.
All righty. Great story, Ricky. Thank you.
All right. Lucretia got a story to tell.
Roll the weed. We got a story to tell. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom.
Her mic is not on.
Can't tell no story with a muted mic, Lucretia.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why there's an echo. I can't hear the echo.
I don't hear no echo, baby. You sound good.
No,
Oh, great. Okay. So I wanted to bring up this, which is, I'm reading from an AP article, which is the medical negligence that has been alleged in the death of Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson. So I'm reading here for a different article. The family of former Rep. Bernice Johnson said, this was on January 5th, said Thursday that the trailblazing Texas Congresswoman died over the weekend at age 89 and passed away after getting an infection in an accused Dallas rehabilitation facility due to neglect. So her son actually found her on September 21st, he says, lying in her own feces at this rehabilitation facility. And the attorney for the family said in a news conference that the son had gone to visit, and after she called him excuse me, he came to visit after not getting a response after calling her. Um, and he arrived very quickly and he found her in these conditions. And then um, a case is now being lodged against this rehabilitation facility by the family. The orthopedic surgeon noted that she could have gotten this infection after recovering from a surgery, and the organisms found in the wound are consistent with feces being inside of the wounds. Um,
Oh no.
and she was moved to this skilled nursing facility after this surgery and eventually into this final rehabilitation center. And I wanted to bring this story because she was a psychiatric nurse, one of the first, and psychiatric facilities have a horrific record of caring for people inside of them, and
Mm.
also our entire system of end of life hospice
Mm,
care is deeply
mm,
underfunded. And if you are a Black person that happens to be in this, it can be just a luck of the draw of the type of care that you get. And it really is dependent on your family who is already at this, you know, potentially really traumatic point in their life to advocate for a nurse on your floor or to, advocate for your safe care. And it shouldn't be that way. And um, her funeral was held, I believe, a day or two ago, even attended by President Biden. So I wanted to bring this story and get your thoughts on medical neglect. And um, I have personal stories of
mm,
also being a care aide, and just also the responsibility, I would say, that is on these workers, the workers in these homes who are often not given any help with additional training, or they're required to do really skilled nursing tasks without any help whatsoever. They're understaffed. And this is just one story of many.
And what's interesting to me about this, before everybody gets into their comments, because Eddie Bernice Johnson was a congressperson, when people leave Congress, don't they have access to the government health care, like for the rest of their lives? Like, isn't that part of the deal? I guess when you leave Congress or are not elected, you still get to retain some benefits. I thought that former Congress people still had that congressional health care. Do you guys know if that's accurate?
I don't know when that started, but I would imagine that the people in the facility that she was in didn't know that she was a former congressperson, and they didn't care because she was a Black lady. Because she was an old Black lady, and so what?
Basically.
yeah.
You
Okay.
know,
Well, that
that's
answers that question.
yeah. I'm not sure when that whole lifetime medical benefits thing started for Congress people. I don't know. Um, but I got to tell you this, that there's nothing scarier than you said that she was recovering from she was in a dialysis rehab center. Oh, can't
I don't think so.
you okay?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
She had an orthopedic surgery, and then she went into a rehabilitation facility, and then
Jesus.
eventually hospice.
Okay. I mean, first of all, there's nothing scarier than getting an infection when you are on some type of medical whatever. Because
Mhm.
I got an infection when I was doing dialysis, and I was scared because the nurses were so scared, because that is a very, very serious thing, because you're talking about anything that is infecting your blood, and that can be really hard to treat, and it can kill you very fast depending on what it is. So I don't know how many rounds of antibiotics, the little bags of pure antibiotics. Just probably, I think probably I got like 6 or 7 of those bags, twice, just to make sure that there was no infection left. So the care that she should have gotten, aside from the fact that she got this infection from a surgery, that's terrifying enough. because that means the doctors, the surgeons, were not following their protocols, which are supposed to be very, very sterile, right? Or she contracted the infection after surgery, and then the nurses who were taking care of her wounds, they weren't sterile. Like, it's hard to trace back exactly where where she got the infection, and that's why these kind of cases are so hard to kind of get through, because it's hard to find who to blame. So what they do is they start from the last place that she was alive, which is the rehab center. And obviously, if someone is lying in their feces, that should never happen. Regardless of what happened in the surgery, regardless of what happened with, insufficient wound care, if you're in a rehab center, if you're recovering from surgery, if you are a patient anywhere, you should not be laying in your own feces. That just should not happen. And that is the kind of neglect from that's what makes us in particular afraid to go to the doctor. I mean, you cannot deny that these kinds of things happen to poor people, to Black people, whether we're poor or not, way more often than this kind of thing would happen to middle class, a well-off white person.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer to this is other than socialism. I really don't. Because it's the medical system in this country is too convoluted, it's too confusing, it's hard for individual people to navigate it, even if you have good insurance. Even if you have good, and I'm here to attest to that. I had great insurance. And if I didn't have those nurses at the dialysis center, if I had to go into a dialysis center to get treatment, God knows what would have happened. Because those people are overworked, they're underpaid, they have a lot of patients, and they're getting as many people in and out of those chairs as possible. And when you're working under those kind of conditions, of course you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I
just wanted to add a few maybe like personal anecdotes, because I'm West Indian, right? There's no real, we don't put our people in those places, right? And many of my aunts were caregivers and such. So when my grandparents, when my grandfather had Alzheimer's and my grandmother got sicker, it was, we bring the beds into the home. You all learn how to do the catheters, how to empty the bedpan. So those are things that I was doing from small. So from the time that my dad got sick, he was in a home, a facility for a while. But the first sign of a bed sore, he was out of there. But then we were told, like, once he leaves this facility, he might not have long to live, and he didn't. But we learned to take care of that. With my aunt, she is legally blind. She has had a lot of difficulties with her home aides. So my mom was for 3 years going 4 days a week to Philadelphia to be her home aide. So those are the type of things that just within my family gets done, because there's such a mistrust about that. And then also there's just a praxis of how we deal with our elders. And I think as my mom and her sisters and siblings are getting older, they're concerned with the sort of westernized notions of family that are their nieces and nephews and kids now have, where that is an option for them. They're concerned, like, oh, they're going to put me in those places because, they're not really culturally, my nieces and my cousins and stuff. That is, even though we grew up doing that, I think that there is a fear from my aunts and my mom and such that, like, oh, they're going to do that, because that is such a heavy load of responsibility. And like I said, I was doing that from a child, emptying bedpans and helping them flip my grandmother, who was not a small lady. and learning how to flip using the sheets and all of that. Doing that with my dad. Learning how to take them in and out of a wheelchair as a child. And these are heavy people, these are full adults who don't have control over their body weight, right? Because of their circumstances. So they're essentially putting it all on you. And then I think that's their fear, that having us all have done that so small that, we're all like, I ain't doing that shit, when we get older. Because especially as we have families, we don't have the homes that they all had to even accept one of them into. So those are just dynamics that I think exist because it is that sort of fear of these things happening where we're like, my dad died in our home. And for us, it was like, it's better that he died with us than there. So that's just, the type of dynamic that I know personally because of that sort of fear of those places. And my aunts and my mom all being SEIU union nurses for decades, seeing it, saying, oh, we're not doing that. So, yeah, right. So I just thought that was just like, that's one of the things that we have to deal with. Because even as I mentioned, my mom had to go to Philadelphia because my nieces and my cousins are busy. They work, so they can't stop what they're doing and help my aunt. So she had to rely on these home care aides who weren't necessarily doing what they should have been doing or weren't getting the training to really be effective.
When you think about how many of our people fall into neglect at these nursing homes, because kind of what you're talking about there, Ricky, like this westernized notion that we kind of warehouse our elderly and our sick, we put them away from the rest of us. So, that's somebody else's problem. So, well, them people get paid to take care of Auntie so-and-so, that's what they should be doing. Well, we can't guarantee that that's always going to be the case, right? And usually it is the patients whose families are routinely visiting, checking, making inquiries. I remember my family member was in a nursing home, a quality one, might I add. Like at the end of their life, we went to visit him. He had his finger was hurt. Excuse me, what happened to his finger? When did this happen? Can you how come there's no Band-Aid on it? When's the last time you cleaned it? Like the squeaky wheel gets the attention, right? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. And because we are so caught up, not necessarily our own fault, but the demands of capitalism to work, pick up children, go do this, go do that, our old and our sick get forgotten about. And unfortunately, they will be neglected if we don't go check on them. And I don't know to the extent that Eddie Bernice Johnson's family was checking on her with frequency. I would like to know about that. But regardless, she should have been getting care, not top notch or even proper basic care. Like that is the standard. Somebody should not have to come in and look over people's shoulders to make sure that they are providing basic standards of care for people who cannot care for themselves. So knowing that Black people are often neglected in this system, it's imperative, like as much as possible, families and the support systems have to go and check on our folks, man, because our folks could be languishing unbeknownst to us, you know what I'm saying? And they may not have the ability to even advocate or speak up for themselves.
All right. Y'all bringing it this morning. I
Who
love
keep
it.
that?
Oh yeah, have to jump in here. I was just wondering. I was like, if when I get older, do I want to go to a retirement or nursing home or have my kids take care of me? And I'm just thinking. I'm like, I want to be playing bingo and stuff like that. I want to be playing games with people my age, and it seems like your kids want to go live their own life. It's like it's almost a little bit of neglect, but at the same time, I want them to be living their life. I don't want them to be worried about me the whole time. So it's
They don't. You don't want to be sitting in your diaper, though. You feel me?
Like right?
Yeah.
I can say personally, that was, I think, without that time, that was the most time I really got to spend with my grandparents. Being there in that house with them, helping them. My grandmother and I, we did the whole Price is Right, Young and the Restless thing.
Beautiful. Right after that.
So, we had lots of conversations. She told me stories. I got to actually engage them. My grandfather, because of Alzheimer's, it was a little different. But with her, that was the most time I really got to engage and enjoy. And Yeah, so I do think that is like a. I
That's our
think it's
culture.
yeah. I think it's like
Mhm.
I do think it's cultural, but I do think it's like a really. I think when people as they get to the end of their life and things like that, it's a really great time to spend with them because they have
Yeah.
so much experience and regrets that they want to discuss about, and it's really a good time to really engage them. So I think it's priceless for me. I wouldn't change it, but
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
dynamics now.
Yeah. That was when my grandmother was nearing the end of her life, and she finally did have to be put in a nursing home. But she fought, man. She was just like, I want to be in my house. And but she really could not. She couldn't walk anymore. She couldn't, do anything. And so she was in a nursing home for a very short time because she had congestive heart failure. But the years before she was put in the nursing home and her physical health began to decline, she couldn't take care of herself. We were always at home down in Jarrett, Virginia, every weekend almost. We were always there. And that was the time that I did, me too, Ricky. I got to sit and talk to my grandma and ask her what it was like, growing up, ask her about her life, ask her about my mom, things that I didn't know, ask her about my aunts and uncles. And she really enjoyed that. She really enjoyed, telling the stories of what she experienced. And she actually told me one time, you know what? You're the only one who asked me about these things. I'm so glad to be able to tell you.
Yeah.
So, that's the other benefit of maintaining those close familial ties with our elders. Even if we do have to put them in a facility, you're right, Kim. We have to be there all the time. But as long as our elders are lucid, pick their brains about what they know. That just the wealth of knowledge is just amazing.
Yeah, this is definitely a Western thing, I would say, with this whole nursing home and stuff. Even they say an orphanage, like we would never get rid of our kids because the community would take care of. So we wouldn't even have a such thing called an orphanage. So Western culture, yes, it has put a spin on our lives. All right, we go ahead and take a quick break right here and come back with some more on No Other Than a Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
What you do to get to me? What would you say to have your way? Would you give up or try again? Would I hesitate to let you in? Now would you be yourself or play your role? Tell all the world, keep it low. I say no, would you turn away or play me off? Or would you stay? Oh, but she don't succeed. Let yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again, try again. Cause if at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Cut yourself off and try again, try again.
What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Please make sure y'all hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Go to patreon.com, drop some change right here in the chat room if you can. This right here is a little mix of my girl Aaliyah. That's right, off the Romeo Must Die soundtrack, released in 2000. R.I.P. to that sister right there, with a little bit of Biggie Smalls in the background, talking about some of that hip hop R&B. Good time for us. Yeah, make sure y'all do all that. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we will be back again for you and yours. With that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Remix Morning crew. Let's go. All right. So yeah, that's what it is. Little remix on the remix for y'all. as we get everybody back in. Bathroom breaks. Bathroom breaks.
I had to let the dog in. I had to let the dog in.
Woo, 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 woo.
Oh, I was so sad when Aaliyah died. Oh, I think I
Me
was like
too.
11. I
Yeah.
cried for like weeks, I think. Oh,
That was a rough time for me. Aaliyah died in 2001, and then my dad died in October.
Yeah, my niece loves some Aaliyah, boy. You talking about crying? There was a lot of girls crying. Love some Aaliyah. What was it about Aaliyah
I
that
might
you
have
fell in
cried.
love with so much?
She was so sweet.
she was so
Like,
like fun and like she could really sing and I don't know, it seemed she seemed like a nice person, but
Yeah.
now that I know what I know as an adult, I'm like, I cannot believe what happened to
right,
this girl, this
right,
young girl. So,
Child.
Right.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she,
I got to
Um,
meet her once. I have a picture with Aaliyah, actually.
okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, just sweet, quiet, reserved. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
real quiet.
she didn't strike me
Talented.
as like a, one of these regular industry girls, not even close. You know what I'm saying? Like she definitely had her own energy about her. And just looking again, like what you said, Lucretia, what she went through, her experience with R. Kelly. I mean, god damn, when you go look at Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, the fucking album cover, it makes you want to throw up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's bad. So, but her career, thank you. Shout out to Timbaland and Missy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
she became their muse and really, gave us some fantastic music. Yeah. We miss
Mhm.
Aaliyah still.
She had a thing for
And
older
I
men.
wore a lot of Tommy because of Aaliyah.
Yeah.
That's whose fault that was.
I wore a lot of
She,
Tommy. I still have a
I
flight
love that.
jacket because it still fits.
Oh.
That's how
Yeah.
big our clothes were in the 90s. But
Yes.
I had those goggles here. I just wore
Mhm.
them right there. Yeah.
I had the side part to this day. I don't do middle part.
I
Mm.
wonder if she had a father in her life because she seemed to have a thing for older men.
Ear
That's
doctor?
crazy.
Ear doctor? No.
Sir,
No.
sir,
No,
Yes.
you were
no.
doing so well.
So
You were
good.
doing great.
Amazingly. And
Oh my
then a detour.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
You knew what it
Thank
was.
you. Go on and
I
fade
mean, if
into
you
the
really want to
background.
get into it, I always had questions about how R. Kelly was able to get his hands on Aaliyah because she seemed to have like a family, right? Like I think her uncle was Barry Hankerson. I think he was her manager, right? Her uncle was her manager. You would think her uncle would look out for her, right? And she seemed to come from a
Ooh.
intact family. So it's like, how you just let your 15-year-old go with this 27-year-old, huh? Okay.
Predators are gonna predator.
Yeah, I feel like that is what happened. They just let them. I don't think it's like much complexity to it, and I think we try to. I also don't think that's abnormal, and I like to know that we like to think that it is, or we like to want it to be. But I do think the dynamics of
Telling your daughter.
younger girls and older men and normalizing it, especially in that era. Because we have to really think we're only like 20, maybe 25 years of like thinking, wait a minute, this shit was probably wrong. Like,
Right.
We're not really that advanced into overturning a lot of these backwards ideas. So when you think about that era, and then she was sort of independent in that sense, right? She wasn't like growing up in a typical family environment. She was an independent solo artist. They probably looked at her like you can make your own decisions. Like I don't really think that. I'm talking about in terms of the normalization of it, right? Not
okay.
whether or not it's good or bad, but in terms of the normalization, this is probably the thinking around it, that she's not a person. Because I'm also thinking of like in terms of Kylie Jenner, right? That dynamic with Kylie and Tyga, right? And people are like, she's 16
I don't know who these
years
people
old,
are.
but she's also
I'm following.
but she's
Yeah.
also 16 years old, not living really with her family. She's pseudo independent. So I think in those cases where these children are not seen as children, even within the family dynamic, that these things are normalized and not really questioned in the way that we would say, wait a minute, but it's still a child, because they're not moving in that way. They have given them a sort of independence where they have adultified these children to a sense, right? Because they're working children. So if they have adultified the children, then it becomes, well, why not? And that's why I think that's why I say I don't think it's that complex of a how do they. I think that she's never really, even at that time, when we think about age ain't nothing but a number, was not a child or seen as a child. So when we adultify these children and give them this sort of independence, then it becomes, well, that's what, and nobody's saying, wait a minute.
Well, to Aaliyah's credit, though, I think that she might have recognized that, because after Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, Aaliyah took a break and she went back to high school, right? She went to her homecoming. She went to like she operated as a regular teenager. And I can only assume that was her decision, right? Because of all the shit that she endured at 14, 15 with R. Kelly. She wanted to get away from that. So when she came back and reemerged, with One in a Million, that's when, she was under new production, but she was like 19 by that time, right? But yeah, definitely.
And I think part of it too is, I mean, obviously, to Ricky's point, this is all, very social. It's all, this idea that, that little Black girls are fast anyway. And that, this idea we have that because girls mature faster than boys, well, she's just mature for her age. No, she's not. She's a child. She's a child. That brain is not done developing either. And just like, teenage boys' brains are not done developing. So that is, I think that culturally we have carried over some really dangerous ideas about girls, but about young Black girls in particular, that create these kinds of situations.
Yeah. And then even to your point about young Black, we can say that about Bow Wow or Usher, right? There's a point where they have been adultified and let loose on their own.
Well, hold on. Usher's first album was talking very sexual.
Right. But as a child, though, right?
Yes, he was definitely 13. Can You Get With It? It's like that. It's only a sexual thing was Usher's first single. And he was like 13.
Right.
And, I was about to say, how old was
he? So then to hear that Usher may or may not have been with older women as a teen or Bow Wow, it's like, well, because they have adultified, like they have been giving so much independence where they're in these clubs with adults, right?
Yeah.
They're engaging with adults they're no longer children, or they're no longer seen in that way. And I think that is the dynamic of that industry, one, but it's also a product of that. When we look at runaways, how many runaways get caught up in those dynamics because they have been adultified.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying there's a particular normalization of it that comes from dynamics where people are like, oh, okay, well, and it's only been within these last couple of years that people are reassessing. Wait a minute, hold on, something's wrong here. We shouldn't be doing that. Yeah.
But let me say this, as I'm only 6 months away from age from Aaliyah, right? And I remember being in high school and the rumor mill was flying about, is Aaliyah married to R. Kelly? Did Aaliyah marry R. Kelly? And I can remember me and my friends, our little basic 10th grade selves, having questions like, isn't she our age? Like, how does she marry? Like, so we as the kids had questions, but because the adults, not our parents per se, but I guess we can say the entertainment industry, the people who are the voices and the front facing, reporters, I should say, of entertainment news, especially Black entertainment news, they didn't take that shit as a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the messages that my generation received. Like, oh, so it's all right if we run off with much older boys. Like, no one's going to frown upon this. This is not something that R. Kelly's being condemned for, right?
Which is why when we raise that issue, that's the pushback, right? Well, I was dating,
Yeah,
I know
I would say
because that's the pushback, because
that's what we're being told.
Normalized.
And I think a lot of kids in my age group had the fantasy of like meeting a cute college boy or something like that, and this is an 18-year-old
little girls. That's all little girls,
so
crushes on older men, but that's it. It's a crush. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I'm interested in his penis. I just think that he's cute, right? Like, I don't know beyond that. But no, I'm sorry, Lucas, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just mean like I think that that is also like marketed to young girls, and I can't tell you how many times I was just existing and people were like, "Oh, you're too fast," or like, "You're mature," and I was like, "I'm not even." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, especially if you're a young girl and you develop early.
Oh, forget it.
Uh-huh.
Just me and these things, people just my mama had to check a whole bunch of folks
I bet.
because they like, keep your little fast daughter from around my son. And my mama like, that child don't want your stinking ass son. And you keep talking about my child, I'm gonna kick your ass. It was just it was that this society is so sick. The sexualization of children
Of
in
children.
so many ways, because the ideal for little girls has always been to find a man who can take care of you, right? It's not just you we were never told, find something you love to do, find out what it is that you really love, and live your life and be happy and be great at what it is you love to do. It was always, you want to get married, you want a man who will protect you, who will take care of you. And that was not most of the dudes in the neighborhood, because everybody was broke, right?
Mhm.
So you look up to these older, so little girls are almost indoctrinated into looking toward older men who are established, who can take care of them, even if they're
Yeah.
not like consciously thinking about that,
Uh-huh.
right? So they get this idea from when we're young, that you want a man who makes good money, and
Right.
that's not the dude who
That's
works at
not
the
the high
post
school
office.
kid. Right.
no.
Right,
That's not the high
right.
school. That's not your peer.
Exactly. This is why so many of us have crushes on celebrities, because they're rich, and it's
Yep.
always so it's just like sitting here remembering like me running around the neighborhood playing with my friends, a lot who were boys, because I was kind of a tomboy, in the summer, and my tank top and my shorts, and all of this is going on. And these mothers are like nervous, because like, what are you doing? Where did you and Jackie go? It's like, what do you mean? Where we climbed the tree? you know and then so
Right.
there's this thing where, oh, you little black girls are too fast.
Right.
But then if we develop early, then we're practically harlots.
Uh-huh.
you know and we're just kids. And then once we show an interest in boys, then we start to get the talk. Well, you don't want to be with just any little old boy. You want a man who can take care of you and all this kind of stuff. And it's just such a mess. We got to do better. Oh.
It's a Disneyfication of it. Right. We're
Mhm,
all like that fairy
mhm.
tale dream sort of aspect. I do think that is a thing. But I do think you made a really good point that I do want to touch on when you talked about, like, I'm thinking, to what extent, when we talk about you don't want to get the broke guy, right? There are my nieces and nephews be saying some wild stuff that I be hearing, right? But I'm thinking in general, this age bracket and the influencer culture and all of that, right? And the things that
Mhm.
these kids are talking about, that people have to provide for them to be with them as children, right? That's not, we really have to be serious, because they're dead ass, right?
Mhm,
And so then I'm
mhm.
thinking, who's doing that? Daryl, who work at the bowling alley, is getting you to tell for, like, how you getting the Chanel, sis? Like, who's paying for your weave? Like, you really gotta. So in that aspect, they're also understanding, like, well, he can't do that on his bowling, alley. So there is a dynamic that is being constructed,
Mhm.
where that is a sort of goal, and they are pushing young girls into this sort of materialistic outlook on life, love, relationships, social dynamics, social relationship, like even how you interact with friendships, sort of. And that is coming out of this sort of influencer culture that I don't think we really talk about enough, because it's, these conversations that these kids are having, it's weird. It's just weird conversations, and they're really serious about, because they think, they think they know what they're talking about. And I'm just the fly on the wall most times, because if I say anything, I would no longer be allowed in. So I just I just listen. But when I'm hearing, I'm like, what is going on?
Hey, ladies, before we transition into our interview, I just wanted to give a couple shots out, if that's cool. Big up to DC Joe Black, sending in $5. Thank y'all. Jackie Lukeman, can you bring your daddy on again, please? The history 100.
That's sweet.
All right.
I'll
And another sister, Piper Carter Podcast, sending in $20, or should I say $19.99. In the high-end fashion industry, models can either enter after age 16. The scouts find them at age 12 or 14. They tell them they are too old when they are 18.
Wow.
Terrible.
That is wild. And then, it all comes full circle when you get to 56 and 60, and you're like, look, I want some company, but I don't want you to stay here. So yeah, I'm looking for a sugar daddy. Just
You gotta
maybe
go
1 or
home.
2 days a week.
As long as he go home.
Other than that, don't call me, dude.
Is that all about
Take me out to dinner, but other than that, just yes.
All right, Ricky, go ahead and introduce our next segment.
Oh yeah. We don't have to do no music intro. I thought that was the thing.
Yeah,
No,
but you got to
professional
introduce
today.
it, and then I go into the intro.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I didn't read the notes. No, I'm happy that we're going to be speaking to my comrade, Rafiki Morris of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, also the PAIGC, and on the CC of the Black Alliance for Peace. This man wears so many hats and has for decades. He's also a tremendous artist, and writer, and terrific comrade. So he's going to be coming on to speak about what's happening, some updates in Guinea-Bissau, the rally and march that we were part of last Sunday, the Protect Your Speech rally that happened in Annapolis, Maryland, and just connecting these dynamics of colonialism and the struggles against them.
Peace, comrade. I'm gonna hang out too.
Oh, they got all the bad people on here. Hello, Rafiki. How are you? You got to unmute, African. There we are.
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Good. Can't complain.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey,
Look at you. All right. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm just gonna lurk.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe open up. We were part of the Protect Free Speech rally that happened in Annapolis. I didn't know if you wanted to give some context to that, because you did, as always, gave a phenomenal speech. I feel like every time you speak, everybody shuts down. Everybody is quiet. they're like waiting for the next word. So if you want to talk a little bit about why you were out there, why we felt the need to be out there, and then also, as African organizations.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, I before I say anything about anything, I want to say that Black Power Media is a phenomenal institution. It is an institution, and it is phenomenal. The willingness to address topics that nobody else will even touch, the ability to inject information, understanding from all of the various people who present and open this program. And I just think it is a doorway to the movement. And I wanted to say to you guys to keep it up. It's a great job you're doing, and it's a service to our struggle. So viva BPM. I love Black Power Media. Okay. Yeah, we spoke at a demonstration organized by various Palestinian groups operating in the state of Maryland. And they called it a free speech rally, really to address the question of how the mainstream media is trying to shut down any narrative other than the one that is being written at the Knesset in Israel. And anybody that has anything else to say is practicing hate speech. And the rally was to draw attention to the fact, supposed fact, that here in the United States that we're supposed to have free speech. I kind of had an issue with the whole question of free speech because the imperialists aren't having a problem with free speech. They can say whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. It is magnified and spread all over the world through the mainstream media, through the newspapers, TV, podcasts, whatever you want. The imperialists don't need a free speech movement. And but we are calling for free speech, but really it's not free speech we're looking for. We're looking for the truth. And we need to free the truth. And the struggle should be to make people say the truth and stop telling all of these lies to confuse the masses and make them think that what is happening in Israel, for example, is the consequence of the actions of a group called Hamas, who is actually in resistance. Like the occupiers have nothing to do with what's going on right now. The occupiers, the genocidal Israeli government, has nothing to do with what's going on right now. And it's all because of the actions of Hamas. And we wanted to say that these things are not true, that the facts are available to people, that our people need to stop listening to ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and all these so-called news agencies as a source of information. It's 2024, and you got all the information you need right in your pocket, because I know almost every one of your listeners have a smartphone. If you got a smartphone and you got a mind and you're willing to do a little bit of digging, you can find the truth. And this is what people need to do. They need to find the truth and they need to spread the truth so that we can understand what's going on, which is a prerequisite for understanding what we should do about what's going on. So we came there. I was very, very happy to see not only the AAPRP, but the Black Alliance for Peace, the Pan-African Community Action, the Ujima People's Progress Party, Friends of Latin America, number of African organizations and representatives, a great collection of student, youth activists that came together. And it was a great rally. I thought it was very good, well attended, and a lot of truth was being spoken.
Yeah, to that point, one of the things that was noted at the rally is just the repression that is being faced by in Montgomery County, specifically with the teachers there. Not so much that they haven't condemned Hamas, but that any support of Palestine is seen as anti-Semitic. So I just wanted to know, well, I really wanted you to speak on that distinction and even the importance of why you just named, all these African organizations and African centered organizations that attended, but like, why is it important that we have the clarity through anti-Semitism and Zionism, and why we are, why we need to be out there?
Okay, well, the first thing was the attack on people who are entering the political sphere on the question of Zionism. A lot of, 4 months ago, most of the people that you might see out here demonstrating had no idea what was going on in Palestine and had no political position on Zionism. But because of the atrocious acts of the Israeli state, a lot of people have been activated and come out to step into this movement and to state their truth. And that is a positive thing. The attack on these people is meant to deter them from being involved, to threaten their livelihood, to threaten their academic credentials, to give them a reason to shut up. And this attempt to shut people up is directed at the people who are newly entering the field of battle. Nobody comes and tries to shut me up. Nobody comes and tries to threaten my existence as far as my livelihood or anything like that, because they know that my positions are intractable. I'm not going to change just because you say something to me that's supposed to scare me into silence. But these young children, these youth, these teachers who see this devastation happening, who have to explain to their children in school why a country is murdering a whole people. These are the people who are being threatened, and it's a shame. And we in the movement have to take the responsibility to defend them. They have a right to say what's on their mind, and we also have to correct this I don't know what you call it, mischaracterization and misrepresentation of the words that are out here in the stratosphere. All of a sudden, oppressed and exploited people who are being murdered and killed don't have a right to hate. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. You killed my mother, you killed my brother, you killed my sister, you killed my children, you stole my land, you destroyed my homes. I'm supposed to love you? No, I don't love you. And when I talk about what you did to me, that is not hate speech. And even if it is hate speech, I have a right to speak hate because it's hateful what is being done to us. So we want to correct this mistaken ideas. We hear now that the call of from the river to the sea is hate speech. Palestine will be free. That's hate speech. But from the river to the sea, that's the land that the Israelis stole from the Palestinians. They didn't steal part of it, they stole all of it. From the river to the sea, from the southern border of Lebanon and the southeast border of Syria to the northern border of the Sinai Peninsula. If you look on any old map, you'll see that that is the land called Palestine. And we don't want to free some of it, we want to free all of it. And to simply say that the Palestinian people have a right to their land is hate speech, that right there is hateful. So we came there to correct these misinterpretations about what is being said and to inject a sense of reality to this thing. This is settler colonialism. These folks left with a mandate given to them by the United Nations, sponsored by the British, to go into Palestine and steal these people's land, to destroy their homes, to destroy their culture, to destroy their schools, to destroy their ways of making a living. This is what actually happened. We're not making it up. And the people who were the victims of it, the Nakba of 1948, where 70% of the Palestinian population was displaced, and the ongoing occupation of Israel is a crime against humanity, and it is a genocidal crime against humanity, and it didn't start on October the 7th. It started in 1917 on the heels of the ending of World War I, in collusion with the British, that these so-called Jews, I don't call them Jews, these terrorists went into Palestine and began this process, this experiment of depopulating the land of its Palestinian residents and seizing that land and placing it in the hands of settlers from Europe. This is what happened in Palestine, and this is what people need to understand, because this is exactly the same thing that happened in the United States. It's exactly the same thing that happened in Zimbabwe. It's exactly the same thing that happened in South Africa. It's exactly the same thing that happened in Algeria. It's exactly the same thing that happened in Australia. Killed the indigenous people, seized their lands, and repopulated with the excess population of Europe. It's been going on now for hundreds of years, and it's time that it stopped, and it's time that people come to understand and say it what it is, say it, call it for what it is. I also have a particular issue with African people, because African people, especially those of us here in the United States, act like we forgot that we were stolen from Africa and brought here. We act like we forgot that this land belonged to the native people. We think we're home and we're settling in, trying to be comfortable, living on somebody else's land. This land is blood-soaked, you guys. And the reality is, this is not our home, no matter how much we want it to be. We were stolen from our home. Our home was stolen from us. We don't know who we are. We're trying to be Americans while America is oppressing and exploiting the people of the world. We're identifying with these genocidal military experiment that the U.S. is engaged in. So we were there to try to make some of these points and to make our people understand that whether you are conscious of it or not, you are part of this struggle. And you have to take a stand for yourself, because right now it's coming to you through your TV screen, but pretty soon it's going to be coming to you live and direct, and they're going to be knocking on your door, and you're going to be trying to figure out what side of the line you on. So that was what we was there for Sunday, and I thought it was incredible. And I wanted to put it in context, and I think that's one of the reasons I came here today. We think that African people are at war. And we think that this war that we are engaged in is global. So when we look at every single place on the planet Earth where there are African people, we find the US military operations and their proxies and puppets are responsible for oppression and exploitation of our people. Now, we come onto these programs and go to these various kinds of events to highlight what is happening on this battlefront, on that battlefront, in this environment, in that environment, in this country. And we look at our particular circumstances and try to figure out what we have to do under those circumstances to get up from underneath the oppression and exploitation that we're suffering. And that is natural, and that is necessary, and that is important. In fact, if we don't stand up where we are, we're likely to die. They will kill us. So you can't ignore what's happening in your backyard, in your city, in your town, or in your state. These are real existential threats to your life. However, beyond the existential, immediate threats to your life, there's a larger thing happening here. There's a more important thing happening here, because each of those individual instances of oppression is only a battlefield in an international struggle against oppression and exploitation by capitalism and imperialism. And the thing we need to understand is that the way to victory in this worldwide struggle is to coordinate our efforts on these individual battlefields, to connect them to each other. Now, this connection is not an automatic thing that just happens because we think it's necessary and because we want it and because we know our enemies are operating on a global scale. No, this connection, this coordination, this cooperation that we need has to be actively pulled together and organized as a conscious part of our struggle to defeat our enemies on the ground on any particular battlefield. These battlefields have to be connected so that we can fight an enemy who is connected. And this is the point that I wanted to bring out here today, that we need to put some energy on the coordination. We need to put some energy on cooperation. We need to understand that unity is the consequence of concerted, conscious effort and not a spontaneous thing that develops because it is necessary. And this is what I wanted to talk about. We hear a lot of people talking about unity, but they put no effort into the process. They say we want to unite, but they spend all their time criticizing their brothers and their sisters and their friends and their cousins and this movement and this struggle and that process. But we don't put any energy into understanding what's happening in the struggle of others, understanding actually ourselves. Because what's happening in Zimbabwe, well, that's me. And if I want to know how to win my freedom here in the US, I need to understand Zimbabwe. I need to understand Uganda. I need to understand Somalia. I need to understand Sudan. I need to understand the Sahel. I need to understand Guinea-Bissau. I need to understand Nicaragua, El Salvador, Venezuela, Cuba. I need to understand all of these things because this is the struggle. All of it together is the struggle. And it's the struggle in each of these places that makes possible the defeat of capitalism and imperialism in all of these places. So we want to come and say to our people, we got to come together. We got to unite. We have to craft conscious strategies to coordinate our efforts. And one of the things that I've experienced over the last couple of years along those lines has been working with the Black Alliance for Peace. And we have brought together disparate forces. We don't all agree on everything. And behind closed doors, we have a lot of little disagreements. And it's all good because we're getting to know each other. We're learning, we're training new members. We're teaching ourselves how to lead this formation. And it's in that process that we discover the mechanisms for real unity in this movement of ours. So I kind of pressed up on Erica and said, no, Erica, I don't want to talk about this thing and that thing and the next thing and the other thing. I want to talk about everything. And so here I am.
So, Rafiki, do you think that we are in an historical moment that is unique in that process of building solidarity and unity? Because I don't think in my lifetime I've seen the kind of global outpouring among, as you pointed out, disparate groups of people who are, at least I feel like they're beginning to make these connections. Now, there needs to be a lot more organized effort, as you point out, to connect all of these struggles. But do you think that's beginning to happen on even a very basic scale where people are having these demonstrations and people are at the mic and they're saying, well, this is why this is connected to what's going on here. And these are people on the continent saying this as they're supporting Palestinian liberation, and you got people in the US supporting Palestinian liberation, and they're talking about, and this is why this is connected to what's going on in AAT. You know, do you see that we are at a moment where it seems more possible for us to develop that international solidarity and unity than maybe, I won't say ever before, but maybe in the past few decades?
Some aspects of it are new and are things that we have never seen before. Other aspects of it we've seen over and over and over again. The new aspects, to me, are the very exciting things. And it has to do really with the movement itself, with the youth, with the people who are entering the field of struggle. I've been engaged in this thing for a long time, but I've learned that ideas and concepts spread in ways that we can't control and don't always understand. So the young people who are entering into the movement today, they're coming in the door saying we need political education. They're coming into the rally looking for a political home. They're start off talking about settler colonialism and decolonization and capitalism and anti-imperialism and anti-patriarchy. These are new people to the struggle. These are people who've been in the field of battle for 6 months, a year. This is fabulous. I began to see this back when the Black Lives Matter movement, because I wasn't really taken with that. I didn't really see where it was going. But the one thing I saw about it, which I love and appreciated, was the masses of the people in the streets. And you know how these news agencies, especially the local ones, love to run up in a crowd and stick a mic in somebody's face, as opposed to actually talking to the people who organize the events or activities. And when they did that in the Black Lives Matter movement and stick a mic in a 14-year-old face, the 14-year-old jumped up and said, well, I don't know where you've been, but this has been going on for 400 years. These are children. Now, I've been in a lot of demonstrations. The children didn't used to talk like that. So I think that, and even this question of Zionism, 4 months ago, nobody was talking about Zionism. Nobody knew Zionism. Nobody understood Zionism. We did a demonstration at the in commemoration of the Nakba, which is the catastrophe. This was before the October events. And yeah, it was maybe 75 people out there. Well, the last big demonstration I went to about the Palestinian movement had 200,000 people. So collective consciousness is developing and growing. And to me, that is the most important aspect of this newly awakened movement of ours. I'm not sure that we all see the links, Jackie, because the other aspect of it, because it's a growing movement, is the activity of the enemy. And the enemy wants to co-opt as much of this movement as it can by creating a scenario in which people can identify with ceasefire, but not understand the necessity to destroy Zionism. They want to stop the guns from the bombs from falling, but they don't want to see the resolution of the problem in Israel. And we know that imperialism co-opts our language, co-opts our movements, co-opts our youth, co-opts our struggle. And if we're not careful, the Democratic Party would take control of this whole thing and direct it down a lane that is not going to lead to the resolution of the problem for the people of Palestine. So we see two sides of this thing. We see the growing understanding and consciousness of our people, particularly our youth, on the one hand. On the other hand, we see a massive propaganda campaign being waged by our enemies to confuse us and to make us not really understand what's going on. So we have to fight on both of these fronts at the same time. We have to cut through the confusion by giving people the truth. We have to cut through the propaganda by giving people details and information and analysis. On the one hand. On the other hand, we have to create conditions where our young people have an opportunity to learn, to grow, to make mistakes, to become real organizers in this struggle, because this thing is not about the next 6 months. This thing is going to be ongoing and permanent. And it has very deep-rooted and long-lasting implications. I tell people all the time, I look down the tunnelway, that dark corridor called capitalism and imperialism, and I see a little glimmer of light at the end of that tunnel. And that light is the end of the state of Israel. I see it. And not only do I see the end of the state of Israel, I see the ending of the state of Israel being a thread in the fabric of imperialism that will cause it to unravel. So we could very well be facing the end of the world as we know it. American imperialism is in trouble everywhere. And everything they do today to support Israel and its genocidal attack on the Palestinians is only going to increase their trouble. So the more they help their allies, the more trouble they in. The more they attack us, the more trouble they in. Now, me personally, I try to draw their fire. I want them to come after me. Come attack me. I can defend myself. Leave these kids alone.
Yep. Be the distraction.
Yeah, I'll be the distraction. I'll be the lightning rod. Come at me because I can deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to lock me up, because you lock me up, you lose your jail. Because I'm going to organize that jail.
Yep.
In fact, I'm going to organize the police who carry me to the jail. Come this way. But they're not going to do that. They're firing teachers. They're expelling students. They're lying on people, making stuff up. So yes, it is new. It is new in the sense that what has happened in the past has been accumulating to such a point that we can now say we're approaching a dialectical moment where the quantitative accumulation of injustice have reached to the point where things are starting to break down. And we haven't seen this before. This is new. But at the same time, it's just a continuation of what has been happening all along, because the struggle is not new.
Mm-hmm.
Issues are not new. And to a certain extent, the players are not new. Now, what happens is people think that because they don't see the revolutionary forces are launching some massive ongoing campaign designed to destroy this system bit by bit, that such a campaign doesn't exist. But just because you don't see it don't mean it don't exist.
That's right.
The work that we do, you will not see. It will be behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It will be organizing. It will be step by step. It will be writing. It will be printing. It will be walking. It will be talking. It will be educating. It will be things that will never make the media and never be on TV. But that is happening. And it's not happening in one place. It is happening in every place.
Mm-hmm.
Take what happened in Niger,
Oh.
Mali,
Mm-hmm.
and Burkina Faso.
Okay, you're gonna have to make it quick, Rafiki.
Okay, people think that happened overnight. Oh, we had a coup and everything changed. But people didn't pay attention to the thousands of people that have been in the streets in Mali and Niger and Burkina Faso for the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen overnight. It accumulated until such a point where the existing order could not contain the mass activity. There was a lot of underground, behind the scenes things going on, and nobody today can tell you who put the masses in the streets. And this is what's happening here now. There's a lot going on. Our people are getting organized. Our youth are being conscientized and coming to understand that it is possible to change the world that they live in. And because of this, we're on the threshold of bringing an end to one of the most vicious states that have ever existed on the planet Earth, the illegal, racist, Zionist, patriarchal, settler, colonial state of Israel. And that is a very good thing.
Absolutely is. It's a very good thing that you came on with us today. This is an elder, y'all, a real elder, a real revolutionary. And just, this is what we do in BAP. We real serious. So Thank you so much, Rafiki.
Thank you, African. Yeah, my internet, Zion's home. So.
Thank you all again. It's my pleasure. I'm always available to you at any time. As both of you know, I think I have an opinion about everything. So I always got something to say.
Yep. Yes, he does.
But I'm always also willing to listen and to learn and to grow in this struggle of ours. And y'all just keep up the good work. Black Power Media forever. Viva the African Revolution. And thank you for having me.
No compromise, no retreat.
No retreat.
No compromise, no retreat.
Once again, welcome out, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Remix Morning Show. Make sure y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, go to patreon.com, become a member over there and get footage that's rare. Tell a friend to tell a friend it's on again. And thank all y'all for dropping in, giving some love in the chat room, dropping some change, and keeping this thing going. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and get back to our Remix Morning crew. Yeah, you know how we do. Yeah. Just a little quick mix right there. A little bit of Wes Montgomery mixed with Omar, a guy from UK, Best by Far album. So yeah, a little something. Nice interview, everything.
Outstanding interview.
Yes.
That was an incredible interview.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a ginger shot. I felt like I had a ginger shot. Like I'm woke now. I'm awake.
Bad Africans. Yeah.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. Let's go.
All right. And before I get out of here, real quick, I gotta give some love to no other than Bam. Let's talk about Rod sending in $100. Shout out to the sisters on the panel, Miss Jackie. Glad to see that you are doing well after the surgery. Can see the youthful glow. All right. Good stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Shining out here, Jacqueline. Thank you, Raj.
All right.
That's just anger.
And Kim, I got your story pulled up. Whichever one you want to do, the Alder Sues or the other
Oh,
Biden joint.
shit.
Just let me know.
Who did you guys talk about Biden yesterday at Mother Emanuel Church?
There was no show yesterday.
Huh?
Nobody showed up yesterday.
Ooh. I had that pulled up. So let's do that. Because there's been a development.
Oh shit. Well,
Oh.
Yes.
Ear Doctor, run the clip real quick because, for those that may not have seen it, President Joe Biden spoke at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, the site where parishioners were massacred by white supremacists, and he got interrupted at the church. Ear Doctor, run the clip. Ear Doctor.
Well,
We got a little buffering, but we did show this clip yesterday.
I just asked, did y'all show the clip yesterday?
They wasn't here.
Oh. Okay.
So talk about it, Kim.
Well, shit. I mean, Joe Biden's speech got interrupted by pro-Palestinian activists. I don't know from what organization they were from, but they were calling for a ceasefire and interrupting the president's speech. And then in response, all the goofy attendees started chanting 4 more years to drown out the chants of the, there we go.
There we go.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. That's the part. Okay, that's disgusting. That's enough of that.
Yes, because
oh no.
and I said, please don't tell me it's a bunch of Negroes in there chanting 4 more years for Joe Biden. But the development, Jacqueline, because I saw you had a response on Twitter. We will forever dead name Twitter. It is Twitter.
It is Twitter. They
know.
don't deserve no respect to have their chosen name respected. No.
Exactly. But Kamala Harris's former spokesperson, Simone Sanders, an MSNBC show host, had the audacity to tweet something along the lines of the disrespect shown at Mother AME Church. It's a hallowed ground. How dare somebody come in there and disrespect the president in that space? And Jacqueline has some words for Simone.
First of all, how dare President Biden show up at a church where they suffered a racist massacre not too long ago to ask the Black folks at the church to support him in 2024 at the same time that he is sending weapons to Israel to bomb the fuck out of Palestine? How there's that.
4 more years.
Right.
And then there's this ridiculous notion of these so-called Christians about when it's appropriate to bring up the church is the hallowed ground. Do these people not read their Bible when their Savior, when their Savior, Jesus the Christ, went into a synagogue with a whip and an attitude and beat the capitalist money changers and ran them out of the church?
Flip the tables over. Come on, Jesus.
Why? Because they were cheating the people. So Jesus does this in a church for a lot less than a genocide. What you think he would do? I mean, and I just, this is their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who regularly cussed out religious leaders, calling the Sadducees and the Pharisees a generation of vipers and a bunch of snakes and a bunch of liars all the time on a regular basis. These people are an embarrassment to the faith. They're and this whole episode revealed that the Black Christian church has sold its revolutionary ideology out, whatever there was left of it after the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement. They have sold, too many of them have sold their revolutionary theology out to that seat at the table. This is what a seat at the table looks like. When you want a seat at the table of empire, it looks like selling out your soul. So that's what this is. And the fact that people got so much of the commentary about this situation wrong. They claimed that it was that these people were interrupting a church service. It was not a church service.
It wasn't.
It was not a church service. It was a political speech. It was a campaign speech by Joe Biden to ask the Negroes at Mother Emanuel to vote for him in 2024.
Exactly.
They claimed that the three people who disrupted Biden's speech were all white, and they were just white people disrespecting the sanctity of a Black church. You saw the video, one Black woman. The woman in the middle is actually Palestinian. She's of Palestinian descent. And the dude was a Jewish dude. So there's that. And then not to mention all of the white people who were in the church, who were not members of the church, who were there to see Biden speak. Okay. But here is a very interesting development that I just saw this morning. This is a statement from, I believe, that's not it. I believe it's one of the members of the group that disrupted Joe Biden. Where are you?
Jackie, while you pull that up,
Yeah.
can I just say something quickly? When you talked about the institutions of the church, I was having a conversation yesterday about that, right? So I think one, as you noted, is a political thing, right? So we have to, again, look at the class dynamics of the people who made up the church.
Right.
We can't say for sure if it was regular attendees, regular church members, that would be the case. But then also in terms of the institution, and I know I talk about Nicaragua a lot, but I was leaning on understanding that the dynamics there, right? Is a deeply Catholic nation state, right? They have a truly deep belief in Catholicism. They credit Catholicism with the revolution. So they connect the two, that the Sandinista revolution couldn't have happened without their faith. But also the 2018 attempted coup was a product of the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church has tried to topple the nation state. So that is the sort of contradiction that exists. So when I got a chance to go on the delegation, one of the first places they took us to was a mass, so that we can see that the people are conducting mass without a priest. Without a priest,
yeah,
because they don't want any connection to the Catholic Church. So they have like sort of wrote off the Catholic Church, wrote off the Vatican, but they still have their faith. And they're still practicing their faith. So that is to say that these institutions themselves are not the entirety of a faith. And I just thought that was how I understood what this process was in terms of how people are gauging this. Like the church just needs to be done with, Christianity is a failure, and then looking at how Muslims are creating like a political bloc and making those sort of comparisons. And then I'm thinking about, I don't think it's the church, I don't think it's like the Christianity or the faith, but maybe these institutions just need to be rid of.
I can't, and I say this as a person of faith, I don't disagree, because I can't see any use for churches that do this. That, you know, what better place to bring up the cause of people who are facing a genocide, particularly if you claim Jesus Christ as your savior. How are you gonna sit in the pews of a church and listen to a man who is arming this Zionist apartheid entity to bomb the birthplace of your savior over Christmas?
Oh man,
you know what I mean? So this is the statement that the organization Free Palestine Charleston issued in response to the way they were treated. They were escorted out by the church, you saw, and you heard as they were escorted out and they were chanting ceasefire now. Then the people in the church chanted to drown them out 4 more years of genocide, Jim Crow Joe Biden. So they said 6 members of Free Palestine Charleston on January 8 participated in a disruption to call for a ceasefire in Gaza during President Joe Biden's speech at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston. A crowd of over 100 people simultaneously gathered at a permitted event in Marion Square to show our support for Palestine. They go on to say, Free Palestine CHS recognizes the delicate nature of this action, given the Mother Emanuel AME massacre less than a decade prior and the sanctity of the church itself to many members of the community. The nonviolent demonstration was planned by local Black and Palestinian leaders in consultation with members of the AME community to respect the church's history. So this idea that people in the church community didn't have anything to do with this, lie. And this was just outside white people coming to disrespect the church, lies. They say we decided the best way to honor the church's mass shooting victims and its long history as a site of disobedience would be to wait until President Joe Biden began his speech to disrupt, rather than detracting from any of the church's esteemed Black elders or devaluing a place of worship. But to be clear, this was not a church service. It was a political campaign event. Several Black congregants associated with Free Palestine CHS were also singled out and denied entry to the event. They did not allow members of the church itself who were a part of this organization to enter the event. Now, who they is, I'm not entirely clear on. Was it Biden's security or was it church leadership in coordination with Biden's security? But we now know that members of AME were barred from entering the church because of their association with Free Palestine CHS, including lead Charleston Black Lives Matter organizer Marcus McDonald. He said, we find it so disrespectful that President Biden has come to the place of a massacre while actively benefiting and promoting a genocide and a massacre in Gaza. My church missed the mark. It missed the call of Jesus to choose the oppressed, the orphan, the widow, and the refugee over empire. That's exactly what they did. President Biden has no place, speaking from our pulpit to invoke the lives lost at Emmanuel, while simultaneously ignoring the thousands of lives lost in Gaza, the bombing of Bethlehem, and apartheid in the Holy Land. I stand in the heritage of protests that birthed the AME Church, Denmark Vesey, to issue the only righteous call to study war no more. That's from the Bible. We are not free until Palestine is free. This is the pastor of another AME church, but he's a member of Emmanuel. This is Pastor Darian Jones of Monk's Corner AME. Let's see. During the, Bishop Samuel Green spoke of Malcolm X and James Baldwin as two righteous leaders in his introductory remarks at the same speech where Biden was. He said, so as one of our members said to begin the disruption, if you really care about the lives lost here, then you should honor the lives lost and call for a ceasefire in Palestine. That's what the person said when they started this disruption. So everything people said about who was involved in the disruption, it was just white people. It was just, a bunch of kids and a bunch of outside actors, all lies. Mother Emanuel A&E Church officials may have been involved in barring members of their own church from entering the church to participate in the event because of their affiliation. And this is a mess, but it is a mess that I think needed to happen because I think the church, particularly the Black church, we all know white evangelicals are trash. We know this. But the Black church has been insulated for too long from some very well-deserved criticism about how they as the pastor said, how they have consistently chosen empire over the oppressed, that Jesus told us in no uncertain terms that we are supposed to challenge the oppressor and break the yoke of the oppressed to set them free for. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get back to some more of that next time on the Remix Morning Show.
Next time.
Because y'all know I don't do overtime.
I know.
And,
I mean, how you
He was
gonna
in
be
the back
boss?
stress. You're not doing stress.
I mean, listen.
You'll be the boss and don't like exercise that authority and be like, we can do 5-10 more minutes. I don't understand.
We did. All right. So we can't give them too much. We give them some, we give them some more tomorrow and some more next week and on our own shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, not
right.
all of us have shows, but
Right.
Well, you're
That's
welcome.
y'all's decision.
Exactly.
No.
So with that said, thank you all for all tuning in today for the Remix Morning Show. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thanks again, and have a blessed, beautiful day. Peace out, y'all.
Peace,
everybody.
Yeah.